Welcome to the October 8th, 2024 City Council meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Councilman Missions and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, Lord. And first, I want to raise up the families of the people that were murdered in our city in the last 2 weeks since we last were here, Lord. It's been too many. And I just ask that you bring peace and comfort to those families, to our citizens, and that you protect our city from these despicable acts of violence, Lord. Lord, I ask that you guide us to seek your wisdom, Lord, to put you first in all that we do, and to make good decisions for our citizens. Most of all, Lord, I thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and the blessing that he has offered all of us through salvation. In your name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have several recognitions, so I'm going to come down there and do both of them. Thank you. Okay, so October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so I'm going to read a proclamation and present it to Amy McIver from the YWCA. If you'd like to come up. Okay. Whereas domestic violence impacts families, homes, communities, schools, institutions, and workplaces on a daily basis. And whereas individuals can be victims of domestic violence regardless of age, gender, identity, sexual orientation, race, culture, socioeconomic status, or religion. And whereas 1 in every 3 teenagers, 1 in every 4 women, and 1 in every 9 men will experience domestic violence during their lifetime. And whereas family and intimate partner homicides continue to represent over 1/3 of all homicides in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and whereas in 1978, the YWCA Central Virginia opened its doors to launch a domestic violence program for its service area and continues to be a cornerstone of courage and inspiration for thousands of people in Lynchburg and the surrounding community. Whereas in 2023, the YWCA Central Virginia's Domestic Violence Prevention Program served over 4,500 citizens of Lynchburg and provided over 6,400 nights of emergency shelter due to domestic violence. And whereas October 21st through 26th, 2024 has been deemed the Week Without Violence. And domestic violence advocacy agency system partners, communities, and allies will come together with a common goal of raising awareness and elevating survivor voices so that together we can end gender-based violence. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie T. Reed, Mayor of the City of Lynchburg, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Lynchburg and ask that all citizens join me in recognizing the important work of domestic violence programs and victim services providers that they do in our community.
I did prepare.
Yes.
Last year I wasn't as prepared.
Nope.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the mayor and the city council members for supporting Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We know that 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence and 1 in 9 men experience domestic violence. Tonight, I would like to talk about the children. Every day, countless children witness violence in their homes. A home should be a safe place. For them, it is a place of fear. This trauma can follow them into their education and relationships, often leading to a cycle of violence. The effects of domestic violence on children include anxiety, depression, suicidal feelings, alcohol and drug use, poor coping skills, and poor academic performance. But we have the power to change in this community. We can provide education, resources, support for families in crisis. If you would like to be involved in this change, there are brochures. I left them on the back seat to the left. Just pick up a brochure, read about domestic violence, learn about domestic violence. A lot of people don't even know what it is. People come to our shelter and they're surprised by the things that they've went through that would be considered domestic violence. Or you can visit our website at ywcacva.org, and please share information with your community. When we protect our children, we shape a brighter future for all of us. I would also like to invite you to the Lynchburg Vigil, October 15th, on the Monument Terrace steps at 6 p.m. in partnership with the Lynchburg Victim Witness. And the purpose of the vigil is to just remember those who have lost their lives to domestic violence, support those who have survived domestic violence, and bring hope to those still being abused. Thank you.
Do you want to hold up that?
Thank you.
Okay, our next proclamation, Chief Wormser, you want to come up here? Is for Fire Prevention Week. Okay. Whereas the city of Lynchburg is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,700 people in the U.S. in 2022, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the U.S. responded to 360,000 home fires. And whereas the Lynchburg Fire Department responded to 190 structure fire calls last year, resulting in more than $3 million in lost property. And whereas roughly 3 out of 5 fire deaths happen in homes where either no smoke alarms or with no working smoke alarms. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in home fires almost in half by alerting people to danger and giving them critical time to escape. And whereas Lynchburg residents are encouraged to install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home, and test the alarms at least once monthly. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas the Lynchburg Fire Department is dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and fire safety education. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie T. Reed, Mayor of the City of Lynchburg, do hereby proclaim October 6th through 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week in Lynchburg, and I urge all citizens to make sure that their homes have working smoke alarms and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Lynchburg Fire Department. We're going to get you down.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. We've always heard that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. From school visits and public demonstrations to firehouse tours and community outreach programs, I'm incredibly proud of the work our team performs, teaching thousands of people every year and touching their lives. We engage people of all ages to help them understand about fire safety and empower them with the knowledge that could help save their life. Each interaction, every piece of educational material distributed, every question answered, it all matters. And I know that it makes a difference. Last year, our fire department team saved millions of dollars in property, proving that fire prevention is not a one-week effort, it's an ongoing mission. This year, we have continued our Governor's Award-winning Walkabout Wednesday program. We have made investments in not only our team, thanks to you, and our citizens, but our equipment, training, and educational materials as well. I want everyone to know that we are encouraged to keep the momentum, stay engaged, and to remember that our efforts in prevention are frankly equally important to the work we do in our response. Together, we can continue to save lives and property before the alarm even sounds. Thank you so much for your support.
There's one final recognition that was not on the working agenda. However, there is a birthday sitting up here right next to me. It is the Vice Mayor's birthday. So if it is okay with the council and everyone out here, we're going to have to sing.
Don't say.
So
Stephanie, I don't think Stephanie. Don't say. Thank you.
okay, well, they say that's the thought that counts. So we just sang. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 4 sections: consent agenda, public hearing, public comment, and general business. The first section is the consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right. We can go ahead and vote, please.
All right, initiating the vote now. The motion passes.
Okay, great. Moving on. The next section is public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Procedure: staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker shall have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group may have only one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and the locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. Consideration of adopting an ordinance authorizing the city's grant and conveyance of an egress easement to Griffin Pipe Products Co., LLC at 4 Adams Street, Lynchburg, Virginia. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Mr. Tim Mitchell.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. This item's been before you before. This is part of the, related to the Blackwater CSO Tunnel project and a memorandum of understanding that we entered into with Griffin Pipe for the use of their land and a property swap for the tunnel project. And earlier today at the work session, you received bids for the easement, and their recommendation is upon conclusion of the public hearing to proceed with adoption of the ordinance. With that, I'll turn it over to council in the public hearing, and I'll be glad to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Okay, thank you so much. Would the petitioner like to make a presentation? There's not one? Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Are there any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay, well, the public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council. Do I have a motion? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Vice Mayor Foley?
Nope. We're good.
You're good? Councilman Bishop?
I'm good.
Okay, any further discussion? No? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, great. The next section is public comment. During public comment, individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made during the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer concerns to the city manager for follow-up. Citizens often express conflicting and diverse positions regarding specific issues under consideration. To encourage citizen participation and to avoid intimidation to persons who may express sometimes unpopular opinions, applause, cheers, or jeers from the audience are not permitted. When appearing before City Council, citizens may not engage in behavior that intimidates or insults others, engage in disruptive behavior or use profanity or vulgar language, promote private business ventures, or campaign for office. We will now hear from a citizen regarding LCS Capital Improvement Plan. Ms. Cynthia Capps, please restate your name and locality of residence.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Capps. I'm a lifelong resident of Lynchburg, Virginia, and I'm a former staff member of Sandusky Elementary School. It's been over a year since the decision to close Sandusky Elementary School was made, and thanks to the community's incredible commitment to our students, faculty, and staff, we now have plans for rebuilding Sandusky ready for our school board's approval. However, our work is far from finished. We must keep advocating for our school. Sandusky should have never been included in the closure vote, and now that the school board has reversed that decision, discussions about funding for the rebuild are already underway. This is the moment to make choices that will propel this project forward. It's time, it's actually past time, for Lynchburg to invest in its public schools. For our city to thrive, we need to prioritize our schools. Rebuilding Sandusky is just the start of revitalization and revitalizing education in an area already experiencing significant growth. LCS is requesting basic improvements in the CIP plan: paint, HVAC systems, electrical upgrades, track improvements, fencing, and rebuilding of long neglected facilities. They're not asking for anything extravagant, just essential safety updates that have been overlooked. We're not asking for a real estate tax increase. We're asking for creative solutions. While some may believe that raising taxes is the only option, many know that we can collaborate to find alternative ways to make this work. The city has very impressive plans for downtown through the year 2040, and our public schools deserve that same level of attention and financial support. Sandusky Elementary is a family and a community that urgently needs to be rebuilt to better serve our students, families, faculty, and staff. Merging our school with another and relocating to yet another site does not address the current state of the SES building, the neighborhood's property values, or the immediate needs of our students and faculty. Please collaborate with one another, the school board, and community advocates for Sandusky Elementary to turn this rebuild into a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from a group representative regarding rebuilding Sandusky Elementary. It's Colleen Larkins from Save Sandusky. Please restate your name, group representative, and locality of residence.
My name is Colleen Larkins. I live in Ward 4, and I'm representing Save Sandusky. I know it's been a really hard week for Lynchburg. I know that if I feel that, and if every conversation I seem to have this week is centered around the loss of life and the hardship that is happening, I know you guys only feel it more than that. It's been hard. And one of the things, though, that I've noticed about Lynchburg in the almost 20 years that I've lived here is when hardship hits, the community comes together. It doesn't matter if your child went to LCA or lived in Boonesboro or is on Wards Ferry Road. It doesn't matter if you knew these people personally or if you just happen to live near them. The community has come together to love the families, and they've loved them well. The reason I bring that up, and what does that even have to do with schools, is because one thing I know about Lynchburg is when the going gets tough, the tough get going here. All the way from the derecho many years ago when I was pregnant with my child who's now attending Sandusky Middle, and I got a lot of help from this community, to this week and everything in between. We may not agree on politics or religion or even how to go about things, but there are things we do agree on, that we love our city and we want it to thrive. When we look at schools and what the future looks like, we want to thrive. I know you guys want to thrive, we want to thrive, but that's going to take some investment. We look at the capital improvement plan, which I painstakingly read the whole thing. And there are a lot of really, really good things in there. But I kept asking myself as I turned page by page, are these things as important as our schools? Are these things that need to be prioritized over our schools? And some of those things, simply the answer is no. I love streetscapes. I love the downtown. But is that more important than a child having a roof on their school that actually holds water, or a staircase that actually holds stairs? Is that more important than our kids making sure that they're safe when they go to school? And I don't mean the procedures, I mean the actual building. That's a hard question when you look at each and everything. And I know that you have to ask hard questions about every single dollar. It's not just about schools. But we've prioritized downtown, which we needed to, and it's thriving. We prioritize public safety, and now our police department has less vacancies. We're seeing that when we prioritize something and come together as a community to figure it out, it thrives. So I'm asking you right now to do that for the schools. I'm not asking you to raise the taxes. I'm asking you to be creative with what we have, because the very people who would feel the tax increase are the middle class, the Sandusky families, the Sheffield families, the Perrymont families. We're the ones who would feel that. So I understand that that's hard, but I'm asking you to be creative. And I leave you with this. A couple weeks ago, the principals of many of the schools of LCS got up and talked to the school board. They were asked a very point blank question. What can the school board do to help you? Do you know what their answer was? Now, mind you, these people face lots of issues. They said, work with our city council. That's what they wanted, is for collaboration to happen, for our city to work together as leaders, for us to have a common vision together, to not be divided. You guys worked together last year, the 5 of you sitting on this end, worked together to come up with a solution. You dug in, and we are so, so grateful. And I'm sorry that I have to ask you to do it again. But can you dig in again to find the funds the city schools need? And can you work together with our school board? Because as Mr. Womack says, we do it better when we do it together.
Council, I meant to do this earlier, but we're going to make an adjustment just quickly, and we're moving Mr. Nunn to the next spot on our speaker list. So we will now hear from a group representative regarding a citizen's view of the key ingredients to keep our city great and to look for the future. Mr. Chow Nunn for Citizens for Community Connections. Please restate your name, group represented, and locality of
I'm the
residence.
new city manager stepping in. City manager there. I'm Chow Nunn, and I'm representing the Citizens for Community Connections. That group is an infinity group. It's me and all the people I've worked with in town and talked to. I know a lot of people in town too. Madam Mayor, my wife told me not to go off script. And council members, I am Chow Nunn. I'm a retired physician and former chief medical officer of Central Health. I live on Royal Boulevard, and you're all invited to come to my house anytime you want. I got a beautiful backyard and a garden. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. When I developed Parkinson's disease, I had to stop taking care of patients. But that setback had a silver lining. It allowed me to be more involved in the community, and that is why I'm here tonight. I used to be a mover and a shaker, but I'm more of a shaker and not as much of a mover with this Parkinson's. But I got this deep brain put in. Monday they turned it on. I want to share with you 4 thoughts that I have prompted by my dealing with Parkinson's for 10 years, where mortality becomes closer and more real. It makes you view things very differently when you get that close to it. I have also had many intimate conversations, and being honored by the humanitarian award I received in the spring moved me to think about my life and loves in Lynchburg. In these conversations, I asked John Capps why he thought Lynchburg was so special. He said heart. I believe we all use our heart in our own ways to make our community better. My first thought I want to share is that my heart has led me to relationship building. As I am curious And I truly like to get to know someone by asking them many questions, which greatly irritates my wife, Katie. As a physician, we are trained to have the interest, willingness, and ability to ask these deep questions in helping our patients. I can get pretty deep with them. One reason I made a career change from pure healthcare practice to health system leadership was to bridge the divide between doctors and administrators through relationships. These two groups typically don't get along or work well together, as evidenced by the recent breakup of the Central Oncology Group. My curiosity led me to start a podcast to interview and get to know leaders in our region. I interviewed Jeff Helgeson. I interviewed Bo Wright. But my host wouldn't let me publish them. I asked them why. They said I was told it was too political. But if you listen to the interviews, it was not political. And you could tell what good human beings both of those men are. This interest in others helped me to break down barriers, really perceive between us. It could help you too. My second thought involves liberty. I most recently interviewed Don DeConstant. He came away very impressed, and I think he's a true servant leader. Don is a breath of fresh air to me. I think he is someone the city and the community can work with to really make a difference for Lynchburg, particularly with our healthcare system. We can talk more about that later. Our society and local community is so fragmented that we're calling those we don't agree with others. I just can't accept that anymore. I refuse to demonize our differences. My advice, we should stop looking at our favorite news outlets, spend a little more time with our neighbors, and get to know each other enough to knit us together and make collective efforts possible. That's what my backyard's for, around the fire pit. My third thought is about city council's decision-making style. It reminds me of my 7 years on the school board in North Carolina. We fought, we were lost in the details, debated issues we would never agree on, and wasted many hours in internal meetings. I feel governing bodies need to elevate themselves out of this dysfunction historically imposed upon us. I know I'm naive about this, and the rules of government that say what we can or cannot do, but I would like to see the city elevate their game and work as a friendly facilitator, convening Central, Liberty, and other major players to help them coordinate efforts efficiently rather than just be the distant funding and policing force that cities typically do. I don't know if you can do that or not, but that's what I always like to do. I just don't see any comprehensive strategic planning. My fourth thought is about our city employees. We have been blessed with a great team of senior leaders. We've got Winter, Greg, Kent, Ryan, Tex, Margette, to name a few. They supervise their staff and city services I am glad to pay taxes for. And you know, and Margette, if you're trying to keep a Margette in her color, I don't think you can make it, Stephanie. You can always come in second to Margette. I was one of the people asked to meet with Winter when he, what is that time up?
Council, do you mind if we let him finish his speech?
Say that one paragraph.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I was one of the people asked to meet with Winter when he first came to town. And we did so on the Bluff Hawk. Well, over the months, he kept calling me and stayed in touch. I said, Winter, you don't need to keep calling me. I'm just an over-the-hill retired doctor who sticks his nose where he shouldn't. He made a really poignant comment to me. He said, Chow, I just need a friend. I can tell you, he's more than a friend. And that shows you the kind of man he is. We are lucky to have him, Shannon, and their family here in Lynchburg. In closing, I hope you can see I've not let my Parkinson's define me. It's greatly affected my speech, my ability to move, my emotions, and my golf game. But it has not taken away my heart. The heart of this community has been incredible to Katie and I, and we're grateful. It's my hope that what I've said today will affect your heart to lead you to make a difference, no matter what obstacle stands in your way. So the privilege to live and be alive in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Thank you very much.
That's my medication does that. That's what I'm blaming on.
We will now hear from a group representative regarding rental inspections, Darlene Holland from UDDUP LLC. Please restate your name, group represented, and locality of residence.
I'm Darlene Holland, and I own UDDUP LLC. And I live in Amherst, but I have rental property in Lynchburg. And listening to everybody here today, I feel that this topic is a little petty, but I do think it represents a larger problem. So right now, I'm sure many of you know that we are having building rental inspections now. And it's hitting us at a really bad time with all that's going on in the community. And it's also in certain areas of the city. And I'm not sure if it's all happening at one time in all the census tracts, but it's being very difficult to find people that are available to help us get our inspections done because of the amounts of things that are required by the building codes. And I totally get that we, as a landlord, have to provide a safety site for people to live in. Smoke detectors. I have a deck that I have to redo, and because it's not meeting code, it's not safe. So I totally get that. But one of the things that's required right now, and I know it sounds petty, but if you own a lot of property in the city, then these things add up. So we're required to put in screen doors in the front on all doors for ventilation purposes. Now, I understand that that's important. I totally get that. But these screen doors are being required in frontal home, the living rooms where there's plenty of windows. Some of my properties have 2 and 3 windows. So there's plenty, because you walk in and there's the living room. And so, and there's 2 and 3 windows that have screens. And so to require us to spend, $500 to $600 on a screen door is just not something that is cost effective for us if we're trying to keep the rents down. All of us as landlords understand the economic impact of this country. And for us to be having to do things that are not required to make the property safe and well ventilated is just really, really high. And there's other things, but that is the most egregious right now for us as landlords. So I understand if it was no windows in that part of the home because it's habitable, the living room, but we have 2 and 3 windows there. So these properties add up. The more you have, the more it adds up. So that is all I have to say.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding Are We Prepared? Peter Separati, although I do not see Mr. Separati.
So do I sit down?
Yes, you can sit down
Okay,
now.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll now hear from a group representative regarding Lynchburg politics, Mr. Gary Taylor from Citizens for a Better Lynchburg. Please restate your name, group representative, and locality of residence.
Sir. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and entire professional and dedicated city staff, as well as law enforcement and first responders if they're here. You are greatly appreciated by most of the city council and all of the citizens. My name is Gary Taylor. I currently reside in Goode, Virginia. Last year, I founded and am president of a bipartisan, keyword there, in Lynchburg politics, group called Citizens for a Better Lynchburg. Formed this organization, this group, as a result of extremist positions of Lynchburg politics over the last decade, not the last year, over the last decade, and the Republican clown show of the last 21 months. Having been involved in Lynchburg political scene for over a decade and with city council and city schools for about 6 years. Have been involved in politics at multiple levels for 45 years. and in business for over 4 decades. Lynchburg politics is the topic tonight, the current state. We are in the home stretch of a very important and pivotal election season. The Republican Party is in total disarray, with the state party holding a meeting on October 16th to specifically address the local Republican Party issues and division. This is the first election I'm aware of where we are calling for bipartisan voting. Because of extremism of both parties has gotten so far out of control and misaligned with mainstream America and Lynchburg's values and needs. How did we get here? We got here with those short-term memories. People think it all happened last year. No, that's not when it happened. They would be 100% incorrect. This started before the pandemic, when the last Democrat-led council brought national issues into local politics. And some Democrats, council members, lurched so far to the left, it opened the door to Republicans to take back the majority, which they have obviously horribly squandered. And Democrats that remained declared themselves independents, which was a smart move. Just the brutal facts of reality. The path forward, or let me get to the mayor's vote. No one can say they weren't told what was going to happen, as I emailed all 5 Republicans well before the mayor's vote. And maybe somebody shared it with a Democrat, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. The brutal facts are a reality. We knew what was going to happen. And if a Democrat and a Republican agree on that same thing, that tells you how that was 100% correct on what happened. And all those that keep whining about it, you need to get over it. The path forward, abandon bipartisanship and party line voting. Become what Bob Good is calling us, the uniparty folks. Who are the uniparty folks? Or as Governor Youngkin and I call us, the inclusive, the centrist, the big tent, the unity, seat at the table group. Quit your divisive small tent, exclusive Republican or Democrat party and join the uniparty. Bob came up with a good name. Finally something. My group's role, encourage voters to drop bad partisan thinking and groupthink from both extremists on each side of the aisle. The days of straight party voting are over, probably forever. Become an informed citizen and voter. Ditch most media platforms. Stop being a sheeple. Don't belong to any local party groups that try to control you and silence free speech. We'll start next week after the election working on next year's as we try to reshape the Republican Party of Virginia under Glenn Youngkin's leadership. We're going to need better centrist Republicans in state and delegates to offset that. Already working on next primary season for Republicans and looking to replace some local ones at the state level. Bob and Jeff want to replace Wendell. Some of us want to replace another Republican. Thank you for your time. Make sure you vote. Have a good day.
Thank you. The next section is general business. This section includes general items of new business. Consideration of adopting a resolution consenting to Lynchburg Baseball LLC selling, assigning, or transferring its rights under its baseball stadium franchise agreement with the city to Hillcats Baseball LLC. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on September 24th, 2024. May I have a motion? Vice Mayor Fraldy?
I don't think we checked with them, but I do think our Hillcats and future Hillcats owners are here. I don't know if we want to afford them opportunities, at least say hello or not, but would certainly welcome that if they're interested.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, thank you very much for acknowledging. Yes, we do have Matt Ramstead, who is current general manager and operator's done a fantastic job. And we have Dylan Narang, who's the new owner. We're really excited about, and his partner, his consultant who's come in. And I've Chuck Domino. I remember I was trying to put all the things in my head together. So yes, they're here and they're available if you'd like to talk with them, but we're so excited for this opportunity. And Greg gushed enough about it last time and all the different, the history that we have. We're just really, really excited about the ownership and the team and the future. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I would move adoption of the resolution.
Okay, great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Go Hillcats.
Council missions?
Let's do some good things.
Great. Any other discussion or comments? Any other discussion or comments? John? No? Okay, go ahead, Dr. Watson.
Welcome to Lynchburg. We're glad to have you here and really excited about the upcoming year of baseball. Thank you.
Thank you. We're excited. We're very excited. We have a lot of great news. It's going to be great.
Can we give him a minute to come up here?
Sure, come on.
After, like we can vote on it.
Okay, well, stay right there.
Okay.
And I'm going to call the vote.
Okay.
And if it passes, you can say something.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
All right, initiating the vote to adopt. The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Dylan Narang. I appreciate all the time and effort that everyone at the team of the city has put in, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I can answer any questions you might have. We're very excited. We've got a lot of really, I think, great and fun things planned that we can do with the stadium and we can do for the city. I think you guys have a really, really, really good foundation that just has not been kind of utilized properly. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, we're thrilled to have you and congratulations and welcome to our city. And
Thank you.
We're so glad you're here.
Thank
and
you.
We're looking forward to working.
It's going to be great. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Oh, yes, Councilman Taylor.
You're going to give us a chance.
That's not up to me. That's up to the audience. But we'll make it fun if you come. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the city's award and execution of a towing and vehicle recovery services contract with Beeline Transport, Inc. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on September 24th, 2024. And I believe that Mr. Patrick is going to brief us on some things.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. As you'll recall, at our last meeting, Stephanie Suter provided a business item briefing on the Towing Advisory Board's recommendation to council for the towing contractor for the next 5-year period. There were a lot of questions from council that evening and then subsequently. And before we got to the vote, I just wanted to run through a few items, few talking points, and make sure we clear up some of the uncertainty around the contract, what it is, how it works, so on and so forth. So first of all, municipal towing contracts are really unique in Virginia in that only the governing body is given authority to enter into a contract for towing services. Typically, procurement is a city staff function. So every 5 years, as a result, City Council appoints a towing advisory board that develops and approves a request for a proposal, evaluates the responses that we receive for that request for a proposal, and ultimately makes a recommendation to City Council to select a towing service provider based on the criteria in the RFP. We use this procurement process in this case specifically, but generally, to ensure that we receive the best service at the lowest price. It allows the private sector to compete for our business, and competition typically drives down price and improves service. So this year, the Towing Advisory Board has made their recommendation to City Council because the recommended provider has, among other things, offered the best overall contract pricing. They have the largest fleet, and they have highly trained and certified drivers that all live within 5 miles of their facility. But what I really want to clarify is what's in the contract and what's not in the contract, because I think that's where a lot of the questions have stemmed from. So what is in the city's towing contract? First of all, it is for towing city-owned vehicles. This is the city fleet, both heavy duty and light duty. If we look back at our last completed fiscal year 24, so this ran from July 1, 2023 through June 30th of 2024, this accounted for a total of 98 tows of city vehicles, 68% of which were heavy-duty tows. Next, this contract covers police-initiated tows for evidence recovery. These are tows where we need to keep the car in our possession so that we can use it for evidence recovery. The city pays for these tows. In FY 2024, there were a total of 39 tows in this capacity. And thirdly, you have police-initiated tows for DUIs, impounds, or abandoned vehicles. These are vehicle owner-paid tows, but they are charged the city contract price. In FY 2024, we had 520 total tows under this category. And incidentally, the recommended provider this year was the least expensive for towing these types of vehicles and also had the lowest storage cost for these types of tows. So what is not in the towing contract? This contract does not in any way govern which towing provider tows vehicles involved in accidents or any other private towing contract across the city. So bottom line, the vast majority of towing services provided across the city have nothing to do with this contract. There were a lot of questions about what happens in the case of an accident. So what guidance do police officers provide about which towing service to use? I spoke with Chief Zudema this morning, and he was very clear. Unless there is an acute public safety reason to do so, officers are not permitted to recommend a service, mention which service the city uses, or even provide the names of towing businesses in the area. And we do this to avoid any potential conflicts of interest. There were other questions about a rotation. So I asked Chief Zudema this question: what is most important in a towing contract or a towing provider for police? And his answer was pretty straightforward. It's speed, speed, speed. The quicker an officer can clear a call, the quicker they can get on to the next one. And remember, the recommended provider has the most drivers, all of which must live within 5 miles of their facility. The other benefit to both public safety and city staff of having a single towing provider is that our dispatchers, our police officers, and our citizens' first advisors know where the cars are because we have one provider. So if someone calls in and asks, my car was towed, where is my car? If it was a city-initiated tow, that tow is at the impound lot of our recommended provider. So this is going to save quite a bit of time, both on the front end and the back end, in organizing a rotation, in tracking down where vehicles are. I know it doesn't sound like it is an impossible thing to do. It's not impossible, but it takes manpower, and this is manpower that could be used in many different ways. So managing that rotation will necessarily divert our folks away from their core missions and duties. So bottom line, a rotation is something that we could certainly consider, but if efficiency is the goal, then a rotation is not the way to go. And that was made clear in the conversations we had today with the police chief. So just wanted to provide you some background, hopefully answer a few questions you might have before you had a debate on this topic.
Thank you very much. Oh, did you have a question, Dr. Wallace? Go ahead.
Question?
Sure. I mean, I guess it's fine.
I'm just trying to understand everything. So for the city pays for like the 98 and the 39 tows that we requested. So the city pays that towing company, correct?
That's correct.
So the 520 that they pay the tows, the individual pays for those.
The individual who owns the vehicle would pay for those.
Pays Beeline for that. Do we get the portion that they pay, does that offset what we've paid?
No,
So
we
it goes
received
totally
no funding back from Beeline. That is just or from the chosen provider. That is an expense just paid by the resident or the car owner. But keep in mind, they pay a city contract price, right? So we negotiate that price, as part of the RFP.
Okay. Do we know what that amount is?
I believe in the proposed, the cost that a vehicle owner would pay to the chosen towing provider should their car be towed in the new proposed
Yes, so for
response.
police-initiated tows, class 1 vehicles is $110, and the storage fee is
$50 a day. So $110 plus $50 a day.
Okay, I'm just wondering, I just wondering, is there any way a portion of that, well, you could come back to the city? That's one question. Just maybe for the next contract, we could look at something of that nature. And also, several persons have called me about like the cars being towed, and then they're there for extended time, and then they already have problems getting a car, and then by the time they get back to it, the price is so high. So I have a compassion for a person that can't afford it anyway. The car probably broke down. They already have a problem with that, and then you got an extra towing fee, a storage fee. It's still a little challenging, but I was wondering about that amount. It's okay. Thank you.
Councilman Jones?
I'd like to make a motion to deny the contract.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Over the last, say, probably 10 days to 2 weeks, I had a member of the Towing Advisory Board reach out to me. She happens to be in the room right now, and she gave me some information about how this process played out that really just doesn't make me feel comfortable with our compliance with the Virginia Public Procurement Act, things related to how the decision seemed to be predetermined, and that essentially she had to kind of try to force the compliance and the proper procedures to get this done. And things that are interesting to me, she sent me several things. One in particular was let me pull this up here. It's an email from Stephanie Suter to the board. It says presentation to briefing to award the towing contract went before council on Tuesday and it went well. Given the outreach to council from other towing providers, the city attorney has recommended getting a written recommendation signed by all members of the towing advisory board to show full consensus as part of the agenda item to vote the resolution toward on October 8th. I've drafted that recommendation as attached and will need everyone to sign the same document as soon as possible. And there was a lot of pressure to try to get the members of the board to sign that, saying that there was consensus, but this board member didn't really feel like that there was consensus. I think that this whole thing needs to be revisited. There's a pricing analysis here that she also provided to me that shows that just to blanket say that Beeline is the least expensive. I don't know that that's exactly accurate based on the pricing analysis that was provided to me by this board member.
We did a comparison
Yeah.
of the prices against our typical towing of the year. And while there's some prices that are different overall.
How about the private sector? Did you check the private sector?
Sir.
That's why I'm making the motion to deny. I think this whole thing from beginning to end needs to be revisited. I don't think we need to be trying to influence the decision of the board members to go one way or the other. And I think that the competition, we need to allow the competition to occur, and we need to allow it to be done in a way at the end of the day that's fair and transparent.
Councilman Taylor?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Vice Mayor Frawley?
I have a few questions. Madam Mayor, I would ask, who is the towing member advisory board member that made this communication? If Councilman Missions would be able to offer that, it'd be helpful.
I'd be happy to offer that. Her name is Kelly Courier. She's sitting in the room, and she is also an attorney.
Is she here?
She's right here right now.
Can I speak
Yeah, I have questions for you. Madam Mayor, I would ask our city attorney, does this communication put us into, that has been offered to one council member, implicate the city in any capacity, since Ms. Curry declined to communicate with myself and I assume others?
No, I don't think so. I think if.
Thank you.
if she's
Why did you
willing to-
decide to only contact Councilmember Missions?
I didn't. I sent you an email as well.
I don't have it.
I can show you the context
Okay.
if you'd like to see it.
So what did you offer in this so the public can see what you've provided?
Can I walk you through my experience with this advisory board?
Thank you. If you could offer a response to the question, that'd be appreciated.
I'm sorry.
If you can offer a response
you
to
repeat the question?
What did you put in the email?
What did I do? What?
What did you put in the email?
In which email are you referring to?
The one you supposedly sent to me.
Oh, I had stated, would you like me to read it to you? I'd be happy to read it to you. Okay, I sent this email. On September the 26th, and it states, "Hi, I'm currently serving on the Towing Advisory Board as a city public member. I would like an opportunity to speak with you and other council members about the current term that I have served. After watching the work session that was been conducted on the September 24th meeting, the 4 o'clock meeting that I had watched, and the amount of controversy around this, I now have concerns. We've been asked to sign a document regarding consensus of the group and everything that I have been presented with. I don't feel confident or comfortable signing this document. I feel it's crucial that I had the opportunity to speak with you. I have gotten countless emails. I have gotten a number of messages on social media platforms. I have gotten comments. I've got invoices. I have gotten so much information in regard to this. So that to me is concerning. So my question is this. My question is, why is there so much controversy around this? Why am I, and I'd spoke to Stephanie and asked, is anyone else getting this? Is anyone else struggling with this? Is anyone else getting this documentation and feeling as though there's something that we're missing? There's something more to this situation and why there is so much controversy around it.
What did you offer to Ms. Suter?
I had expressed to her that I had gotten invoices, that I had gotten phone calls, I have gotten emails.
Okay. Ms. Suter, did you have this conversation?
I did.
Okay. And you're still concerned?
I'm absolutely concerned.
Would you please go into that? Since
The concern that I have around this is in the very beginning of this process, one of the first questions that I had asked is, are there audits conducted to make sure that we're appropriately paying what we're supposed to be paying? Are we looking at this? How do we know that based on the contracted amount that we have in front of us, that that's what we're paying, that that's what we're charging, that that's what's happening? There's no audit that takes place. It's essentially, if the statement at the end was, if we get something that someone claims that they've overpaid, we look at it and then there's a refund determined. But there's nothing in place to determine whether these contracted prices are correct or not. In the very beginning, the decision was made. It was not
by who?
A general consensus of essentially everyone,
Who's everyone?
the board entirety.
How
With
many?
the exception, I will give, there's one other public member on the board that I think was open to a different situation.
How many members are on the board?
7 or 8.
Okay. So there were two that you're aware of, including yourself?
In the
or
end, there was
3?
one.
Overall, if you were to provide.
Yes, overall, the majority, yes.
Overall,
Yes.
please let me ask the question. Overall, how many folks provided concern before the vote? None. Okay. So when the vote total came down, what was it?
It was essentially everyone in the room agreed. And it's you, I mean, these people work on the side of the road every day. I understand that. I understand that they work with that group more than I do because I am merely a citizen. So I understand that their vote does make a difference because they are working with them every single day. But at the end, it feels like you can't make your own decision. Because if you do, there's a potential, based on what I've seen, based on the messages that I've gotten, there is retaliation. So there's the fear of retaliation. There's the fear of other things as well. I'm not going to elaborate in public. We can talk one-on-one if you.
Well, you're bringing this before us in public.
Yes, I am. Absolutely. I'm bringing the fact that I have gotten messages stating that there is retaliation if.
What was your name again, ma'am?
Kelly Courier.
Ms. Career.
Yes.
To speak candidly, I'm not about to have this conversation with you privately. Because if you're going to be doing this in front of the public and be willing to cooperate with Councilman Mischens, which he brought it up, and I'm not faulting him, I'm simply saying if this is going to go this way, we're going to have this conversation in public
that's fine.
so everyone can know.
I have been.
Ma'am, please don't interrupt me. So everyone can know where this is going. Because
Okay.
I don't want to leave anything unturned.
That's fine.
But quite frankly, I am having a problem with what you're presenting because ultimately the vote went a certain way. You're saying people were persuaded. I don't have evidence of that.
I'm not saying people were persuaded. I'm telling you my personal experience. I can't speak for anyone else on how they voted.
Ma'am, respectfully, you just spoke for everyone else when you said the decision was already made.
The decision was made.
Are you going to continue cutting me off?
The decision was made.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Unless anyone else would like to try to dance here, I'm not going to continue because I can't get a straight answer. I'm a little confused because I've been told by multiple folks, the misinformation I think here is a breakdown far below where we're all sitting right now. I don't think this is the contracts problem. I don't think this is Beeline's problem. I don't think this is the other folks who may have been cut out problem. I think this is far below. And I heard the policy said by our deputy city manager is this, from the police chief, verbatim. Our officers are not to recommend any contractor, that's how I'll title them, for towing.
There, in the police code of conduct, actually have a quote. Employees will not, while acting as representatives of the department, recommend to the public the services of any particular attorney, bondsman, funeral service, locksmith, towing service, or other business providing paid service to the public.
So I would, a little bit in a cute manner, which I know Mr. City Manager, he hates when I do that. And thank you, ma'am. I expect that to be followed. I can't ask my colleagues, the public, or whatever to continue to make this some form of a spectacle when I'm asking questions, trying to get an answer. Look, if this is the policy, follow it. That's all I can say. This contract is simply for two things: a city vehicle that needs to be towed, and when that instance happens that the city must take your personal property, there are expectations that have to be met and kept. If you're to take my car for an extended period of time, the city has certain expectations over the course of that time, what we're going to do with your property. So that's why the contract exists. And for a whole process, it's been proven that a certain contractor won the day. Anybody who gets into an accident can still call whichever business, and folks, I know you're shaking your head, but I have to make a decision with the information in front of me. Ma'am, this is not an opportunity for public feedback.
Can you speak?
No.
So it's not, you don't get to speak.
At the end of the day, I can't in good conscience deny this because I have no other grounds other than I expect the policy to be followed by the city administration. And we got to move on. So we can vote on this however we would like to, but it would be quite foolish for us to deny it.
Yeah, why don't you let us speak? We got questions. We're community.
We had discussion at the public hearing, and that was that opportunity for that dialogue to go back and forth with everybody. Council Mischens? Oh, Dr. Wilder, sorry.
Yes, so the process went through proper procurement. So when they went through proper procurement, was Beeline the choice of the procurement process?
Yes, sir.
So maybe you might need to understand that. So you review all the contract person who submitted contracts, then you, whatever your process was, you selected Beeline.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I didn't, the towing advisory board.
But hey,
I just provided the recommendation.
And keep in mind too, the towing advisory board not only selected the chosen provider, they approved the RFP, which includes the language of what's important, what are we looking for, and how are we going to grade or judge the proposals that we receive. So they played an active role in every part of this procurement, the towing advisory board, I mean.
With all due respect, they did not check any of our.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can't yell me out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
As far as the Towing Advisory Committee, and I seen the letter that they signed saying they agree with the contract. Like, for example, we have like zoning commission, we'll get the comments from the session. Do we have any notes from the zoning commission? Do we have those notes? Is it in our package? Yes, sir.
Councilman.
What we have is not notes in like you would keep at a public meeting. We have a kind of an outlined pros and cons of the folks who made submissions, and I think we may have sent that along.
I thought we did send it with.
Okay.
To council.
Okay. So I think I just wanted to make sure that because if you're the procurement person, correct, and then so you look at all the numbers, so you're weighing those numbers to make sure they're adequate. So, but I know you said the towing committee made the decision, but as a professional, did you look at those numbers as well to compare them?
Yes, we looked at them and we came up with we had a scoring matrix and then, but we really came up with a consensus of pros and cons for each one. And that everyone on the towing advisory board agreed to.
Okay.
Yeah, and then through discussion, we amended that as we needed to, and we added some things here and there that we wanted to add after discussion.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks. That's all.
I'm sorry. Y'all, I'm sorry. You can't yell out. I understand, but you cannot speak out. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You can't speak out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Second paragraph, last sentence.
Okay. Seriously, I'm going to have to recess if you guys can't stop yelling out. Okay,
We're not
please.
just trying to be heard.
Councilman Missions.
So I just want to point out a couple things. Can you read that policy again, the PD policy that you just read? Yeah, read it again.
The whole policy.
But that section that you just read.
Employees will not, while acting as representatives of the department, recommend to the public the services of any particular attorney, bondsman, funeral service, locksmith, towing service, or other business providing paid service to the public.
So if, not accusing, not saying anything like that. So if a police officer said, the contract towing company for the city of Lynchburg is Beeline, that does not violate that policy.
I don't know how to answer that.
That's a factual statement.
I don't know how to answer that question. I do know that the guidance that they receive is you don't, from the chief is, you don't provide that information. You suggest that the vehicle owner Google the towing services available.
But what I'm getting at is, I've seen it happen, right? I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen a million times. I worked for the fire department for 14 years. I worked for the fire department while Beeline had the contract. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it. I know exactly what is being spoken about in here because I've seen it happen. It happens. It happens all the time. Okay. I'm just being straight. I'm just being honest. This is not a thing. And it's not, I'm not knocking on any of the police officers. I'm not any of that because you know what? At 2 a.m., what do you want to do? You want to pack up. You want to go to the next call. You want to get back to the station, whatever. I get it. Right. But it's not right. That's the thing. It's not right. It's not right to our businesses in the community to do that. You know, I'm looking at the consensus document that was with the packet right here, and there's two people that weren't willing to sign it. There's two board members that weren't willing to sign it. All I'm saying, and my recommendation is, and then we've heard the comments, I think, from members of the community that feel like they're getting overcharged for storage and things like that when, you know, they have to pick up the vehicle on their own, and that other providers, right, wouldn't be charging those rates. So, and it's no knock on the guys with Beeline, because let me tell you, like, they do a good job. You know, they're professional. They do a great job. It's nothing about that. But this is a 5-year contract, right? This is a 5-year contract, and I'm very uncomfortable with approving a 5-year contract that kind of totally excludes all these other businesses, right? And doesn't give them any opportunity. I get it. If we want to do a contract for the city vehicles, award it to one provider, I'm okay with that, right? And if there needs to be some sort of performance metric that says, if we do a rotation and you know what, you don't meet the performance metric, boom, you're out. Bye. But give them a chance. Give them a chance. And I just don't like the way any of this was done. It stinks. I had several conversations with Kelly about this. I'm deeply disappointed in the way that she was just treated. One of our citizens up here at the podium who came forward because she just felt like the way all of this went down was just not, it seemed forced. It seemed forced. And, you know, she told me stories about how she had to get site visits forced to happen because there were no site visits planned to actually go in and see what the people had for equipment, and all, like, just lots of different things. I can't even remember it all, but as soon as it hit me, I'm glad that I actually responded to the email she sent to all of us to get that information. And I'm just not comfortable with approving this. That's why I made the motion to deny. I think we should revisit it, and, you know, that's just where I'm at.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Vice Mayor?
Madam Mayor, I would ask Councilman Mischins, what is, and I'm genuinely asking, what is different from what you have just outlined from what is actually before us tonight and what you said you'd be comfortable with? And I'm genuinely asking.
Can you ask that again? I just want to make sure I'm understanding your question.
What is actually different from what is before us tonight and what you outlined when you were talking, what you outlined and what you would like it to be, as insofar as some form of, you know, standards? And
I mean, I think, so you're asking based on what
is different between,
what's different between
yes,
what I think would be ideal and what we're being offered to sign off on tonight?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that would be my question.
May I respond?
Go ahead.
One, it's a 5-year contract, right? That's a long time to keep other small businesses out of the loop. So that's one major issue that I have with that, is the 5-year contract, is the length of the term. 2, I think we need to completely separate police-initiated tows and then the city vehicles. I think that the city vehicles, you know, I get it. I've been in a fire engine when, boom, it won't start back up at 3 a.m. And you know what? There was only, back then, 2 people in town that had the ability to pull it, right? So yes, you need to have somebody that's going to respond and have that equipment, and let the people that have that equipment, because it's not many. I think it's only, what, 3 companies in town, maybe 2 at the most, right? Let them fight it out, and may the best person win for the city and for the city equipment, and you know, let them win. But for the police initiated tows and that stuff, you know, I even had firefighters call me and tell me, like, that was crazy watching that meeting. We absolutely should have a rotation. It's not right to the little guys that are out here, because some of these companies are going to get there faster because of where their people live and other things. And, you know, I just think that we shouldn't be using, we are the ones that respond to every vehicle accident in the city of Lynchburg. Everyone. There's a lot more accidents in Lynchburg than there are in the counties. And that adds up, right? And I just think we should be giving other businesses an opportunity to grow, and including them in being able to get a piece of the pie. That's where I'm at with it.
Vice Mayor. Okay, city staff, is this contract not explicitly, in large part, for city-owned vehicles?
City-owned vehicles and police-initiated
Okay,
tows.
so let me take a step back. So as far as the city-owned stuff, we're all okay with that? Yes? It seems to be the indication that we're all okay with that component.
You don't like the president?
5-year contract is a point of contention, at least being raised by Councilman Missions. I would ask, is there anything else in state code or anything across the Commonwealth of Virginia that is less than 5 years, more than 5 years? Is 5-year standard? Is that just what the city's been doing for years?
5 years, and I'll probably let finance speak to that, but it's my understanding that's pretty standard, at least for the city. Now, council
for
is not,
Lynchburg.
for Lynchburg, council is not bound by that term. So certainly I wouldn't recommend doing a term above 5 years, but you could go under 5 years. You'll just have to visit it again sooner than in that 5-year term.
So I'll ask 2 questions, Madam Mayor. Would Councilmember Missions be comfortable with 3 years?
I think that if we were to do anything now to change the term, that it negates the whole entire process.
Madam
So-
Mayor, I'm only asking to try to find consensus about what would be a middle ground to at least move the ball forward. I'm not saying we do it tonight. I'm not asking we do it tonight. I'm just trying to find what his staff.
I mean,
We can set it up as 1 year with 4 renewals, or, however many renewals you're comfortable doing.
Okay.
That's what you want to do.
What about, and I got you, Winter, what about just 3 years? Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Whatever you all would like.
Okay. And I'm not saying we do that tonight. I'm just trying to bring us together here. Again, Madam Mayor, I would ask Councilman Missions, could he do 3?
I am okay with a term on the city vehicle towing. 3 years would be acceptable. I think that the police-initiated tows need to be entirely separate from the towing of city vehicles.
Madam Mayor, to conclude my comments, if we could do 3 years, and we know it's the bulk of the contract is for city vehicles only, my contention is I can't get behind police-initiated. Here's why. If we're expecting Beth White's car to be towed because of well, I won't put you on the spot, but for example, to take Christopher Aldi's car, I want a certain set of standards that the city has agreed to for that period of time about what's going to happen with my property. And I think a legally binding contract is the best way to ensure my car is not going to be unduly X, Y, and Z. So that's why a legally binding contract is something I can take to the courts and say, no, the city did not follow their own contract with whoever the proprietor may be. So that's why I believe the police-initiated component is critical to this whole piece. I'm willing to be wrong, but what I must clarify, what I don't value and I don't appreciate is receiving documentation saying that everything, there's consensus, there's been a vote, this is the recommendation, both on the RFP and the contract, and now coming to this place and just simply trying to ask questions and being interrupted left and right. Councilman Misters and I have gotten into our own back and forth plenty in the last 2 years. I think we both know cutting each other off is not the best way to bring us together and find a solution. So I humbly offer all of that. I'm willing to go to 3 if Beeline would be willing to go to 3. Of course, we're already at the city vehicles only. I do have to insist, I believe that the police-initiated calls is important for reasons I've already outlined. At this point, I think we should table it to our next meeting to make sure we have both stakeholder input, make sure that everyone's been heard, and that way we can actually offer another opportunity for the other small business to actually be able to come to the microphone and speak. So I think the best thing to do would be to table it unless we're under some time crunch.
Dr. Wilder.
Two quick questions. How many persons submitted awards for this contract?
Only 3 companies submitted.
So 3 companies submitted proposals. Was it advertised? was the request advertised? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Was the request advertised?
It was posted as we do all RFPs. We put it out on the city's website, and we also posted it on the state's website on EVA, which sends it to all the towing providers that are registered with the state.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
No, I think my question's
It was my understanding, I wasn't here for the September 24th meeting, but everything I read, it seems to me the contract was awarded with D-Line because they had the type of equipment that was needed. Do all these other?
Yes.
They all, excuse me, I was asking, have all the others have the same kind of equipment that you need to?
One of the other offers does. The other did not submit for the heavy duty class 2 and class 3. So of the 3 that submitted a proposal, 2 have the heavy equipment.
Thank you.
I have a question, and I'm not sure who to have answer this. I'm just going to put it out there, and I guess whoever from staff, it could be Mr. Friedman, and it could be one of y'all. So the RFPs they were sent out, and everything was considered by a board that meets, that we even trusted to make this decision. That's not us. They've been appointed, they've been entrusted to consider all these things, a separate board, a separate body. They've made all the considerations. They've reviewed everything. They've made their decision with a majority vote. We do this all the time. And we have plenty of people in the city who don't agree with our decisions. Trust me. And all of us hear from people all the time when things don't go the way that they want it. If another board in this city interfered with our work and came and started to tell us, no, you have to reconsider, just because they were mad at the way that we voted, we would be telling them, I'm sorry, no. When people wanted us to get involved in school board business, that wasn't taken very kindly to. I think we all remember that, because we said, and they reminded us, they're a separate board, appointed and trusted to do school business. So I appreciate and understand that there are people upset about how this went. I understand the frustration, because I get it. We hear it all the time. We truly do, all the time. But I also have to respect a board that has met and voted in majority to go a certain direction. And I have to consider the fact that we now are going to interfere with the decision that they've made and we are going to tell them, no, your decision was wrong. Do it again, and also make modifications. Is that our role? So that would be my question, I guess. Are we allowed to tell them, as an outside body, you need to change it and do it again? And is there a legal component and liability to us to get involved in a procurement process if we do that? Because they've made a decision. They have voted. Who wants to answer?
Maybe everybody needs to
Sir? Sir, officer, you guys, I don't know if we take a break here or what we need to do. Okay, we're gonna take a recess for 5 minutes, y'all.
Mitchell.
not my chamber, so I'm just saying, we're starting to get staff, they're starting to yell at staff.
Sir, please keep him from talking to her if he's going to be it. Mr. Friedman, who was going to speak to my question?
I can try.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll try to speak to it. So the towing contract for the locality is one of those rare times a locality governing bodies involved in the approval process. So in answering your question, it's not necessarily bound by a recommendation of the Towing Advisory Board. The council has the power to order one towing contract, multiple towing contracts, or no towing contract. What you have before you, I wish I had paid a little bit better attention to what Council Member Misjins was reading for the email. This written recommendation was something I had drafted based on City Council's resolution creating the Towing Advisory Board, I think either earlier in 2024 and 2023, because that resolution had spoken to the idea of you all receiving a written recommendation or something from the board saying some type of guidance on how to proceed. What you all have on this written recommendation is everyone's signature except for one, Ms. Courier, and she has spoken out this evening. I think with that said, I think the written recommendation still has some validity to it. There's nothing disproving the other signatures that are on the other pages there. Certainly, Ms. Courier doesn't have to sign it if she doesn't want to, but you still have a majority speaking to it. So City Council does have options. Really what I would ask, though, is if there's a majority here that doesn't want to proceed tonight, to at least give us some guidance on what to bring back at our following meeting. So right now, even if you all didn't approve tonight, we would continue on that month-to-month basis under the old contract we currently have with Beeline.
Okay. All right, thank you. So currently on the floor, the motion is to deny. Are there any other comments? Yes.
Earlier, the vice mayor mentioned tabling this and revisiting this. If that's something he would, like to see me do as a friendly amendment, I'd be willing to do that, as long as Mr. Taylor, who's seconding it, would be willing to do that. And we can, maybe table this for 2 meetings and then give us time to work with staff and figure out the way forward with this if the vice mayor's good with that.
If there's consensus to table, it's probably the fastest way.
Is there consensus to table, or do you want to vote?
Okay. I don't support the motion because it went through proper procurement. It was sent out locally as well as nationally to persons with a time period to apply for the contract. And also the advisory board majority made the decision to accept the contract. Therefore, I do not agree on that particular motion to deny the contract. Thank you. So, I mean, we can table it, but table it, I don't know what that's going to do because I don't think it's going to change my vote from listening to, it went through proper procurement. The Touring Advisory Board, one member said no, the Touring Advisory Committee approved the contract. So I don't see, we can table it if you would like, but I don't see how that's going to change my mind because it went through proper procurement. Like everything, you have a deadline period, you send it out locally and all that kind of thing for a person that had the opportunity to apply for it and then go from there. So that's why I don't see how tabling it is going to change my mind.
Yeah, what's the idea about tabling it? It gives us more time to do what?
I want, at this point, Madam Mayor, if I may. Here's why. In my position, I'm struggling to pronounce her name, but Ms. Courier. Ms. Courier was appointed to do a job. She's no longer a private citizen. You are appointed to do a public duty on behalf of City Council. She raised questions. There are stakeholders here who have serious concerns that impact their daily lives. The reason I may have been curt, to put it lightly, was look, you're appointed to do a job, you're not answering the questions, and you're being a bit of a pain in answering them and cutting us off and trying to get answers. I don't apologize for that. So to the public, at this point, this all must be conducted above board to ensure that everyone's on the same page and that we conduct this appropriately. If delaying this a couple weeks ensures that all of us are on the same page and the right decision is made, and the expectations are set from us to city staff about what the policy is about handing out or not handing out towing recommendations, then we can all move forward. It's my hope that all 7 of us can get behind this. And that's my heart behind doing it and why I spoke so strongly earlier. So that is my hope, that we can all get on the same page.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So with that being the case, I'm comfortable with, doing a friendly amendment to my motion to table it for 2 meetings and then giving us time to get that information back and make sure everything's above board and whatnot. And I think a key point that was left out of this is that if nobody's there, which is a lot of accidents, it goes to the contracted carrier on a police initiated tow. So when there's nobody there, 17-year-old teenage kid gets in an accident, gets scared, runs away, right? Boom, goes to the contract carrier. And I think that's why there's a lot of concerns about this because it generates more private business than people realize. And I don't want to cut out other companies if that's an option for us to do that. So, but as far as I'm good with tabling it for 2 meetings. I'll change the motion if Larry will support that since he gave the second. You good with that?
I second, and I move that we table this and come back in 2 weeks.
2 meetings.
2 meetings with clear heads. And
Madam Mayor, with that said, just so I understand when I've worked with city staff on this, council is wanting to see options. Have option A or a option B where, I guess for police initiated tows, there's something different. And as it relates to terms, there may be something different. Is that correct? No.
Yeah, that's what I would like.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would.
I think it's critical what Mr. Freeman's putting forward here as to what does the next couple weeks look like? As far as, because we have the Virginia procurement person here, so I'm not going to get, if we bifurcate and separate out, I believe, do we then have to do a new procurement?
I'll have to look back at it, but if it's,
What I'm trying not to do, and she can look at that, what I don't want to do is propose that in 2 weeks, we're going to be back here and where Matt is now, or Mr. Freeman is currently trying to delineate what council expects. A product of this may be that we have to go back out for bid, which then keeps the month to month while we do the other things. And then there's also this expectation about gaining further public input or feedback or better assertions of different things. And so what does that look like to council would be helpful.
Madam Mayor, if I may, it's not outright I want to say this in a positive way. By delaying, it would afford indirectly folks to speak. I'm not saying we put this on as a public hearing. It
Gotcha.
just means that there would be another opportunity for folks from other companies to sign up during public comment and just speak about whatever they want to.
And so in that, so I would ask, because
Which I assume there would be interest in doing so.
And I think it's just a matter of, you would then have to style it as a public hearing as opposed to a general business item.
No.
For public comment.
Oh, just public comment. Got you. Sorry, thank you.
If I may,
Yeah.
my expectation, leave this all the same. You could offer up other options that Councilmember Mischens is requesting. I tend to agree with Councilmember Wilder. I don't know how my position on this stuff is going to change. I've outlined what I'm willing to maybe tweak and adjust. But as far as the overall basis of the contract, I don't know how much it'll change unless there can be a consensus of us to move forward. And we are also missing one member. I could foresee a situation where this splits 3-3 and then we get nowhere. So we do, I think, getting the full council together, allowing more folks to be able to speak indirectly helps, and then we can find a path forward.
Yes.
And just for a point of clarity on this, that the board, I'm looking at the website right now, the Towing Advisory Board, it's 5 city employees and 3 members of the public. So just keep that in mind, that there is a heavy emphasis of city employees driving this. Granted, a lot of that's because we've got firefighters and police officers who use this stuff, and I get it. But it's a heavy bureaucratic process is what I'm getting at.
Oh, Dr. Wilder?
Yeah, just if we do have, since we do have more time, I would like to hear from the other board members. Just so it's like she was kind of implying they were harassed or something. I just want to hear what the other board members have to say, just to make sure, since there is some situations of unknown there, just to make sure we're all on the same page. You know.
Mayor, just want to be clear that the expectation of you and your peers is that this be styled for November 12th. Is that correct? Because 22nd is our next joint with the schools, and then the next scheduled meeting, if I remember correctly, is the 12th. Is that, Madam Mayor, would you like? Okay.
So do we need to vote on tabling it, or we can just go ahead and just?
I think you could pass it over by consensus.
Consensus.
If you wanted.
Okay. All right. Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 adopted budget to align city council salaries with the requirements of Lynchburg City Code Section 2-16.1, Option A. This item was tabled at the September 24th, 2024 City Council meeting for consideration tonight. May I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
a motion to table indefinitely.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Speaking briefly, I do not believe that a politician should vote themselves a pay increase, whether that means it's on amending an ordinance or changing the financials, however it should go. I don't believe it is right. Should this pass, I will then make a motion to reintroduce option B after the fact to align the ordinance with what has been common practice for the last 4 years for city council compensation.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
No comments, but again, in order to be in compliance, do we need to adjust the wording? Was that option B?
This is option B.
Yeah.
Should my motion prevail, I'll then make a motion to reintroduce option B and approve it.
Okay, yes, thank you, that's it, yes.
Okay. Council Mischens?
Yeah, just to be clear, right, that the option A that we have on the table is not to change the salary, it's to fulfill the ordinance, right? So it's actually to fund what the ordinance has set as a salary. It's 2 totally different things. So the salary is set by ordinance, right? It's also kind of interesting. It says in the Code of Virginia about how this is done that it doesn't go into effect until the July 1st after the next general election. So that's if you set it by ordinance, but that's not what we're doing here. We're actually talking about an ordinance that's out of alignment with what we're doing as a practice, as a practice. It's pretty interesting how much demagoguery has come with something as simple as the city complying with its own code, right? So like the city complying with the ordinances that we set has just become, I mean, it's quite fascinating, actually. And something else that I'm going to point out too is that in the last meeting, we tabled this until we had all 7 present. Well, in order to be consistent with what we did in the last meeting, I would offer that we should table it until we have all 7 members present instead of tabling it indefinitely. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else? No? All right, so we can go ahead and vote.
Initiating the vote to table indefinitely.
Yeah, so voting to table it indefinitely.
Could you help me? Could you vote? Okay. Okay. The motion passes 5-1.
Vice Mayor?
I make a motion for council to reconsider and approve option B regarding city council salaries.
Okay, do I have a second?
You want to state option B again?
Yes, ma'am, I would be happy to. A second for it would be appropriate. However, speaking to it, it would change the city ordinance for salaries for city council members to be 10,000 and the mayor to be 12, which is the current funding levels of what the budget has been. So again, I will restate the motion for option B.
Second.
Vice Mayor?
No further comments.
No further.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Again, I'll make a substitute motion to align the mayor's pay with council members' pay at 10,000 in the ordinance.
Okay, do I have a second for the substitute motion? Okay, with no second, the motion dies. Okay, any further discussion on voting for option B? Oh, Dr. Wilder?
Yeah, I do not support the motion because I'd rather have Councilman Hagelson here as well.
Okay, anyone else? Councilman Missions?
I'll agree with Dr. Wilder. If it was the purview of council 2 weeks ago that all 7 of us are here to actually vote on this, then I think it should be the same. We should be consistent. So I won't be supporting the motion until we have all 7 here.
Vice Mayor Falvey?
Madam Mayor, I would ask our city clerk, have we received communication from Councilmember Helgeson why he's not here tonight?
I have not.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I would ask Councilmember Dolan, she had communicated that she would not be at our last meeting. Is that correct? Ahead of time?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we can move on.
Okay, we'll go ahead and vote.
Initiating the vote to adopt option B.
For option B, right?
Yeah.
The motion fails in a tie.
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion to place option B on the agenda for our next meeting under general business.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
No further comments.
Dr. Dolan?
No further.
Any further discussion?
I'm just wondering, how's that work with prevailing side and the point of order?
I think it's there isn't anything that would prohibit what the vice mayor is proposing as a motion. So because it had come up previously, it did fail, but he voted on it in a fashion that would permit him to bring it back up. And this, there isn't a win or a lose in a tie. So certainly you all would be able to bring it back on another meeting when you have a full board.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote then. Put it on the next agenda.
You should do
Under
that now?
Under general business.
The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be a joint work session, with the Lynchburg City School Board held on October 22nd, 2024 at 4 p.m. at the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance.